Before Andromeda became the name of a star, she was flesh trembling against cold stone, her wrists marked by chains, and the sea breathing like a hungry beast before her. There was no music that morning. There was no center celebration, nor songs of victory. There was only the creak of iron, salt burning the skin, and the cruel silence of an entire kingdom watching. She was a princess, daughter of Cepheus and Cassiopeia, born within gilded walls, raised among fine vales and promises of greatness. But on that day, her crown was worth no more than dust upon a tomb. The people did not cry out her name in supplication, nor did they rush to set her free. They simply watched. They watched as if her death were a necessary doorway for everyone else to remain alive. It was not her fault. Andromeda had not offended the gods, had not boasted before Olympus, had not challenged the sea. Even so, she would be the payment. Her mother, Cassiopeia, had uttered poisonous words against the Nereids, claiming to possess a beauty greater than that of the ocean nymphs. And words, when they reached divine ears, returned in the form of punishment. Poseidon heard. The sea darkened. The waves rose like walls. And from the depths was born an ancient creature, a monster sent to tear the kingdom apart piece by piece. To save Ethiopia, the priests chose Andromeda. They did not ask if she wanted to die. They did not ask if her heart still dreamed. They simply decided that her life would be given to the waters. So she was taken to the rocks, chained before the abyss, while the horizon opened up in black foam. There, the princess waited for the monster that was coming for her. On that morning, marked by condemnation, something would cut through the skies. And before the sea could devour Andromeda, fate would send a man bearing death, wings, and the head of a Gorgon. This is the story of Andromeda, the princess who was punished for a sin she did not commit, turned into a living offering to appease the wrath of a god. In Greek mythology, not every tragedy is born of wickedness. Some are born of vanity, others of fear, and some flourish when the innocent are forced to pay for the proud. Andromeda did not begin her journey as a heroine. She began as a daughter, as a young woman, as a woman imprisoned by the decisions of kings, priests, and deities hungry for reparation. Her name has endured through the centuries because her image is impossible to forget. A princess abandoned on the rocks, her body given to the wind, her eyes fixed on the sea that brought a sentence. Around her was a desperate people. Behind her, a broken family. In front of her, a creature sent by Poseidon. Above, an indifferent sky. And even when Perseus appears, cutting through the air after slaying Medusa, this story still belongs to Andromeda, because before the rescue, there was terror. Before love, there was condemnation. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and support this journey through ancient legends, where every myth holds blood, shadow, and fate. Also, write in the comments which city and county you're watching from. I want to know where each voice that follows these stories forgotten by time comes from. Now, turn off the lights around your imagination. Listen to the sea. Feel the weight of iron. See the young princess staring at the dark line of the horizon, because the story of Andromeda does not begin with salvation. It begins with a sentence. And when the gods decide to collect a debt, even the innocent learn the taste of ruin. In the kingdom of Ethiopia, Cepheus ruled beneath a vast sky where the sun seemed to rest upon ancient palaces and towers shaped by proud hands. By his side was Cassiopeia, a queen famed for her beauty, a woman with a steady gaze and a sharp tongue. She knew the effect she had when she entered a hall. Her daughter, Andromeda, grew up in this environment of splendor, surrounded by fine fabrics, silent maids, and tales of the gods' favor. But in houses built upon vanity, danger often slips in through the mouth. Cassiopeia, intoxicated by her own reflection, committed an offense that no mortal should dare to utter. She claimed that her beauty surpassed that of the Nereids, the sea nymphs, and she did not say it in secret. She spoke as one who hurls a blade against the ocean. The Nereids heard her. Wounded in their divine pride, they took the affront to Poseidon, lord of the deep waters, he who does not forget insults cast against his domain. Then the sea changed. First came strange winds, then violent waves. Boats vanished, fishermen did not return. Children woke in the night, swearing they heard screams beneath the foam. The kingdom began to rot with fear. Markets stood empty. Altars received useless sacrifices. The walls, once a symbol of power, seemed fragile before the liquid fury. Alas, the monster appeared, a sea creature sent to destroy Ethiopia, advancing upon the coast like a curse with teeth. And when the priests saw answers from the oracles, they discovered the cruel demand. To save the kingdom, Andromeda must be offered to the monster. The sentence fell upon the palace like a funerary stone. No one dared breathe loudly when Andromeda's name was spoken before the king. Cepheus, who could command armies, could do nothing against the will of the gods. His crown was heavy, but it offered no protection. His throne shone, but gave no answers. Cassiopeia, whose vanity had opened the wound, saw her own daughter chosen as a bloody remedy for her offence. The punishment found the cruelest path. Andromeda heard everything, not as one who listens to distant rumours, but as one who feels her very life being torn away before death arrives. She did not cry out against the priests, nor did she beg before the people, but inside her heart collapsed in dark corridors where no hand could reach her. On the appointed day, they dressed her not as a victim, but as an offering. A light cloak covered her shoulders, useless against the cold wind coming from the sea. The crowd followed the procession to the rocks. Some wept, others turned their faces away. Many gave silent thanks that they were not the ones chosen. The chains were fastened around her wrists, the iron bit into her skin. Each link seemed to say that an innocent life could be sacrificed when fear demanded an answer. Andromeda was left alone before the waters. Behind her, the kingdom withdrew. In front of her, the sea began to stir, as if it recognized the scent of its victim. In that solitude of stone and salt, the princess understood that fate does not ask who deserves to suffer. It simply draws near, heavy, inevitable, and blind. The waters rose in the distance, first as a shadow, then as a living mass. Poseidon's monster tore through the sea, carving a path amidst the shattered waves. Andromeda felt the world grow smaller. There was no palace, no childhood, no hope. There was only the sound of the creature drawing near and the iron that prevented any escape. But above that scene of condemnation, another figure crossed the sky. Perseus, son of Zeus and Danae, was returning from his own blood-stained journey. He carried with him the head of Medusa, the Gorgon whose gaze turned men to stone. Inside a sack, death still retained its power. Looking down, Perseus saw Andromeda in chains. For a moment, even the hero, hardened by battles, seemed struck by something deeper than astonishment. He descended from the skies and asked who had condemned that young woman to the edge of the abyss. The answers came in fragments. Cassiopeia's offence, Poseidon's wrath, the oracle's demand. Perseus did not find merely a princess in peril. He found a kingdom brought to its knees by cowardice, hoping that the blood of an innocent would buy them one more day of life. The monster advanced. Its mouth looked like an open cavern. The waters crashed against the rocks. Andromeda closed her eyes, feeling death brush her face in the form of sea spray. Then Perseus hurled himself at the creature. Sky and sea clashed in battle, blade against scales, scream against roar, fight against fight. And when the battle reached its darkest moment, Perseus used the terrible power of Medusa, turning the horror sent by Poseidon into petrified silence. When the monster fell, the sea seemed to retreat in shame. The waves, once furious, broke lower, as if some ancient force had lost its voice. Perseus returned to Andromeda. The chains still bound her wrists, but the fate that held them had been broken before everyone. When the iron opened, she did not immediately fall into his arms, as in the gentle songs. At first she remained motionless, like someone who still cannot believe they possess their own body. Then she breathed, a single deep, painful breath, laced with salt and fear, was the sound of a life returning from the edge of death. Cepheus and Cassiopeia welcomed Perseus as a saviour, but not every tragic ending is washed away by gratitude. The marks left on Andromeda did not vanish with the creature's defeat. The princess had seen the true face of her kingdom. She saw how people can love an heiress while at the same time accepting to offer her up to the abyss. Perseus asked for Andromeda's hand in marriage, and their union came to be celebrated as a heroic reward, but behind the celebration lingered the shadow of the chains. In some versions of the legend, there was still conflict with Phineus, Andromeda's former betrothed, who tried to claim what he believed was his. Up until then, her will had been treated as disputed territory. Perseus triumphed once more, and Andromeda left with him. Her name entered the tales of heroes, but her pain continued to shine on its own. Later, the gods placed Andromeda among the constellations, not as a mere prize for Perseus, but as an eternal reminder of the princess who faced the sea when all others turned away. Andromeda survived the monster, but her story bears a wound deeper than teeth and waves. She was punished for her mother's vanity, her father's weakness, and the fear of a people who preferred to sacrifice an innocent rather than confront the horror. In ancient nights, when the Greeks looked up at the sky and saw her constellation, perhaps they saw more than just beauty. Perhaps they saw a young woman still trapped among the stars, reminding mortals that pride summons storms, but it is almost always others who drown in them. And so Andromeda remains princess, victim, survivor, and symbol. Her body escaped the chains, but her legend remained bound to the heavens, shining over the world as a silent warning, because there are destinies that do not end when the monster dies. Some continue to echo forever.